We are looking west into the Little Bighorn Valley. We are standing up on the bluffs overlooking the river, and this is where Custer was, and looking into the valley, looking at the Reno skirmish line. To the north you can see Weir Point here, and to the south you can't see it because there's high terrain, but Reno Hill is down this way. And if we go back to the west, you will see several interesting features. The screen is pretty small here. I'll try to point it out. Reno skirmish line is about here, and then you have the timber fight all in this area. The Indian village is further up here to the north. Timber fight once again here, and the retreat occurred coming out of the timber, going along the tree line, passing the field with the red barn. They continued to move along, came through the trees again, and then crossed the river up to the bluffs and to Reno Hill. Now, as you recall, back in the 4-day segment, Reno had come out, crossed the river, come out into the valley, and had charged at the village. Didn't like what he saw, formed a skirmish line, and the warriors started to come out to meet the threat. At this point, Custer is back in Reno Creek still, but he receives the two messengers that Reno has sent him, Private Archibald McAlarkey and Private John Mitchell, as well as getting information from Adjutant Cook through another individual that had given him information at 4-day. All this information, Custer needs more, needs to really get a look at the situation. Instead of crossing 4-day, he makes a right turn, decides to come up here to the bluffs to see exactly what's going on. So the Company F detail is ordered up here, and they do come up here and ascertain the situation is safe. Custer and a battalion are forwarded by the advanced detail, and they do come up here. The majority of the battalion, if not the entire battalion, is concealed in a coulee behind me, and you will see that very shortly. And Custer and a few individuals from the headquarters staff, definitely William Winter Cook with his white horse was noticed up here, as well as the regimental, or the headquarters flags. That had to be Sergeant Robert Hughes. So at least 3 individuals were up here. Probably Tom was up here, maybe even a courier. So you have, half a dozen individuals standing up here, and they look out into the valley, and they see Reno's attack, and then they see him form the skirmish line, and at that point they must have gasped. Because the whole goal of the campaign is to capture the people off the reservation and bring them back to the reservation. Reno forms the skirmish line, and the warriors come out to meet the threat, but the non-combatants, the women and children, which constitute the bulk of the village, there are 8,000 individuals, and probably 6,000 of those individuals are the non-combatants, the women, the children, the elder men. They're getting away. They're running off to the north and moving off to the west, so they're getting away from the attack. And Custer needs to capture these individuals and bring them back to the reservation. They're not here to kill everybody. So the warriors are being entertained by Reno down here, but the non-combatants had to be captured, had to be stopped, had to be cut off before they escaped and before the group scattered, all that. So Custer turned to an orderly, Sergeant Daniel Knipe, gave him verbal orders to go back to the south to find Benteen, pass him, just give him some information, and find the pack train and walk the pack train up here, because Custer wants the packs. Wants the extra men from Company B as well. He's got McDougal's got 120 men. So Custer at this point, after Knipe leaves, he takes one last look at Reno in the valley. He apparently took his hat off and waved it at the soldiers down here on the skirmish line. And some of the soldiers years later would say that they saw an individual up here waving his hat, and of course they saw the Custer flag up here as well. And then the group disappeared behind the bluffs. So they didn't know what was really going on, they just knew soldiers were up here. Now they disappeared behind the bluffs because the little group that was standing here with Custer, they finally turned around and they came back to where the battalion was. And the Custer battalion is hiding down here. They're concealed down here so the Indians don't see them. This is Cedar Coulee right here. And you can see it goes all the way down. You see a better picture of Weir Point now. There's Weir Point in the distance. So we're in between Weir Point and the bluffs. And then you have Cedar Coulee here. Above Cedar Coulee, the other high ground after it, or on the other side, that's Sharpshooter Ridge. Well, the companies had come up here abreast, tactical formation the cavalry always uses, but they got to this area and it was too small, too thin to run abreast anymore, so the cavalry the battalion filed in line with Company F in the lead with headquarters, and then E was behind it, and then the right wing was behind that with I, L, and C. So they were all waiting in here, and Custer and the headquarters staff comes back and goes down into the coulee and just lets everybody know that yes, the Indians have been caught napping. The non-combatants are fleeing off to the north, but Reno is engaging the warriors. So now all they have to do is move north and try to cut off the non-combatants, capture them, and the battle's over and the campaign is won. So at this point, Custer and the whole group starts to move down Cedar Coulee, and they get all the way down to the end of Cedar Coulee, the head of it, and they are about to leave Cedar Coulee, but at that point, that's when Custer decides to dispatch one more messenger, and this time he picks Giovanni Martini, who is a trumpeter from Company H. He's an attached member of headquarters this day. Giovanni Martini isn't the greatest speaker of English, being an immigrant, so Custer has William Winter Cook, the regimental adjutant, write out a written note, and the message basically says, Benteen, come on, big village, be quick, bring packs, P.S. bring packs, W.W. Cook. Martini is given this message, and he begins to move back up from the way he came, up Cedar Coulee, and he's going to leave Cedar Coulee and go over the Bluffs or Reno Hill and then down back into Reno Creek and find Benteen. And now as Martini is leaving the ravine, he is passed by a rider, and the rider is Boston Custer. Now remember from the Valley segments earlier in the episode, in this documentary, Boston had left the pack train on his own and is traveling to basically join up with his brothers, and he passes Martini here. Martini sees him, they kind of exchange pleasantries as they pass each other, and Boston heads down Cedar Coulee, and he's heading down to link up with his brothers. Now the Custer Battalion has left Cedar Coulee, and they've moved out into Medicine Tail Coulee. Now there is a ridge with a lone tree on it right here called Loose Ridge. It's a really long ridge, goes down one side of Medicine Tail Coulee. At that spot there, the Company F detail had moved up there first to ascertain that the coulee was safe, and it was, so they moved Custer along. Everybody ended up there, and of course Boston is coming down. He sees the troops easily, and he's going to link up with his brothers. So at this point, it's about 3:45, and on June 25th, Reno's in the valley, skirmishing against the Indians. The non-combatants are getting away to the north, so Custer is starting to move the battalion to the north to find a place to capture the non-combatants, find a place to cross the river. Martini and Knipe have been sent back with messages, verbal and written, to bring Benteen and the pack train up to Custer. And at this point, that is what is going on. A lot of activity going on here. And now we will move on to the next segment, which will be Medicine Tail Coulee, and we'll get into Custer's strategy there.